This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 35.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba. Ramsey's go-to lullaby is Silent Night, and the boys just love it.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another podcast episode. I'm happy you guys are here again and still listening as we're getting closer to Christmas and the holiday season. The companies who have their fiscal year tied to their calendar year, well, then this is the season to be scrambling. So good luck with that, and hope you make your quotas. Hope you make your bonuses this year. It's always fun trying to hit your quota on the last day of the year. So good luck. Quick tip of the week. Check out the webinar page. I think it's the same as the last week's quick tip, but I do have a webinar this Saturday, in which I'll be joined by Adam O'Brien, who was a guest on show 32, and we're going to be talking about presentation and framing, which he will talk about more in depth. If you're listening to this in the future, then just check out wethesalesengineers.com/webinar, and you'll find out more about it. For this week's webinar, I'll be sending out the calendar invites on Friday night before the webinar to everyone who registered, so go ahead and register. So let's switch gears now. Let's talk about this show. So this is the most in-depth interview I've had so far on the podcast. My guest, his name is Rui Lamy, and he did not hold back any information. This is a long interview. It's an hour and a bit. So I want to keep this short, but he goes into details on how he does things, like especially when he talked about demos and storytelling. That was amazing. So we discussed that. We discuss about what is the channel SE, because that's what he is today, and we discussed his brief stint on the dark side. In case you are wondering, that will be account management. So he tried that. You might want to break out your notebook for the demo section that we talk about, which is halfway through the interview. All right, let's just jump into the interview. Hey, Rui, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Ramsey, for having me here.
It is definitely my pleasure. And first off, your name is written R-U-I, but you say it
R-U-I.
Rui.
Yes, correct.
Correct-ish. I don't feel like I'm saying it right, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Well, welcome to the show, and I'd like to start this the same way with all my guests. Maybe you can let people know who you are, what you do, and why you're on the show.
Okay, thank you, Ramsey. So I've been a sales engineer for 18 years now. Currently, I work at an open source company called LifeRay, where I help the global alliances team basically do pre-sales stuff or sales engineer stuff, architectures, training, selling solutions based on our Java platform. Okay, and this can be a technical webinar, for example, that I give to partners, or help on an RFP, or some in-depth architecture, or even a proof of concept or a proof of value. We are currently a team of 2 sales engineers worldwide, and we are helping our biggest partners like the Accentures, Capgemini's, Cognizant's, so the big ones, deliver solutions and projects on our digital experience platform.
So do you work directly with customers, or do you just work with resellers or partners?
Partners. Okay, so lastly, I've been working more with partners. So I've been helping partners, enabling partners with our technology, but all the rest of my career I've been customer facing. So I've been in customer meetings. I've been facing all the hard questions and all the curveballs that customers throw at us from a pre-sales or sales engineer point of view.
So I've never heard the term proof of value before, which is I guess a good terminology of saying it. Right.
Yeah, it's a proof of concept. Basically, it's a proof of concept. You have in the beginning you have the definition of what will be the value that we want to deliver, what will be the key objectives that we want to achieve, and basically you do on a fixed time period, you deliver that proof of concept. So it's basically the same.
Yeah. So in my experience, whenever we say proof of concept, we have like features we want to go through and make sure that they work, but we never tie it in. Like we don't tie it during the proof of value to show the value. We only say,
Mhm.
okay, this worked, and that means for
Mhm.
you after in a meeting after we say this means that you get this much value. But the way you're saying it's like you're showing the value in the middle of your proof of concept.
Yeah, so I've been, and it depends on the customer and depends also on the type of technology. But I've been in several engagements with customers, several proof of values, where we need to do a mix of both. So we need to show the value as we are progressing in the proof of concept, and show the business value. You need to show that specific feature, like you were saying, to the business user, but not from a technical perspective, from a value to that user. Usually the users come into the proof of value or come into the meetings and ask questions, ask what's in it for me, why are you building this, why is this important for me, and you need to show and you need to pass that value on to them, not only the technical crowd but also the business people.
Right. And you said you've right now you're working solely with partners.
Mm-hmm.
So are you working with account managers or are you working with technical people? What's your role like?
Okay, so nowadays I have both. So I work with both. I work either with the account executives when they involve a partner into a specific engagement, and I have a team of people that manage partners, the different partners that we have around the world, and as we don't have the definition still of a team that works only on the global partners. I've been working not only on the global partners and defining their technical enablement, but also on the local partners. So imagine that we have partners in the UK or partners in Europe or in the US or even in India, anywhere in the world, but local partners. They don't have operations everywhere in the world. So from time to time, what I do is I work with these account managers locally, with some alliance manager locally, and with the team globally. So it's a lot of people usually that make this team, but I'm the only person from a technical perspective that helps the partner put up an offer, put up an infrastructure or an architecture that then we will present to a customer. From time to time, what I try to do more and more is to be customer facing and to be with the partner in front of the customer to show the technology. Okay, but most of our partners, most of our big partners, they just need some help in terms of a new technology, a new integration that they have, uh, chatbots, machine learning, some of the new topics that are very important and very that are talked by all our customers all the time, and I just have to understand that specific topic and how to relate that with our technology and how they can build a solution and how can we help from a business perspective again, how can we bring value to the customer.
All right, I have several questions here. To clarify, when you say
Okay.
local versus global, when you mean local, it's not local to Dublin where you're at. It's local to the country where they work, right?
Correct, yeah.
Global means they can operate in multiple countries. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct. They have operations everywhere, like an Accenture, like I was telling you, or Deloitte, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does the global also work with local? So are you working directly with local and then you're working with global who work with their own local?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right. That
Yeah,
sounds complicated.
yeah, a bit, but yeah, it's the way that the company grew and the way that we are helping our partners, not only the global but the locals, and hopefully we will grow the team from a local perspective to have people focusing just on the local partners, and then have someone overseeing the global partners, because usually we can have more shared knowledge and more communality between all the operations that, for example, an Accenture has at the global level, and we can leverage that communality, that knowledge that, for example, Accenture has in India, in the US, in Canada, in Europe, anywhere, because they already have the knowledge, they already have the team, they already have the projects. But most of these partners globally, they operate as single entities. So each country, each region is a single entity. They don't speak with one another. So one thing that I'm doing from a technical perspective is bringing all these teams together and enabling all these teams so they can use our technology in the best way.
So instead of doing a training for country A, then country B, then country C, you're doing one training for all three. And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that shows them how to work with each other as well.
Exactly,
So
exactly. Some of these teams, they have never heard of each other. So we bring them together. We show our technology. We show the value that our technology brings, but also with some examples from other teams inside that they already have and that they can already use for their own project. So it's a win-win situation.
Okay. And when you mentioned you like to be in front of customers, and I know you're one of two SEs you just mentioned that do this. How do you have time to visit customers, and why would you want to visit customers if you have your partners to do that?
Okay, so most of the when I say customer facing nowadays, it's a lot of webinars and a lot of virtual facing, right?
Yeah.
I'm more and more I'm helping customers, and I'm doing presentations over the internet because as you rightly said, it's hard to be everywhere and to travel all over. I've been trying to lower my travel plans and my travel estimates because I've been traveling this year. I've been traveling a lot, and I'm trying to reduce that. But it's hard when, like you said, you need to cover from Europe to the US or the Americas. Then you need to go to the Middle East. Then you need to go to India. What I try to do is I try to bring most of these teams together in 1 week or two, and I'll try to cover all of that in that time that I'm there, and using the most of my time when I'm there, and the rest I try to create channels or other means of passing the message, the technical message, from webinars, monthly webinars, blog articles, videos that I post on our partner portal. So I try to push the message more and more to these teams, and then when we need to train, when we need to bring these teams together, then we organize a bigger event or a bigger week of training for these teams, for the Accentures, for the Cognizants, and whatever. Okay.
So why would meeting with customers in person add value if you like not necessarily in person, could be through like Google Hangouts for all that matters. How would that add value to them if you met them, not your partners?
Okay, so most of the customers, even if they are interacting with a partner, they like to talk with the main supplier of the technology, right? They like to speak with someone that is an expert or knows the technology, not at the second level that usually it's what a partner does. Even if there are a lot of our partners that have been working in our technology for longer than I have. So it's more that person, that expert that they see. Okay, this is the guy that if I have any issue, if I have any hard question, instead of just going to the partner and then going to this guy or a team of these guys, I'll just go direct, and that's usually what happens. It's a direct connection that the customer has, and in a sense also because we have operations also spread all over the world. The customers feel that they are appreciated, and they feel that, okay, this company is taking care of me, is not sending a partner or not sending an indirect channel. They are here and they are helping me and they are solving my issues. So there's also a lot of value that can bring from there.
So if I equate this to regular like direct sales companies, I would consider, based on what you just said, that the partners are kind of like the generalist sales engineers who have a lot of products to cover,
Hmm.
and then you're the expert behind them who's helping them out.
Yeah, for example,
Okay.
that's a good analogy. Yeah, good.
Yay! I can retire now.
Or you can come work for us.
Okay. Well, thanks. That I've never gotten a job offer off of a podcast, but I will consider it. All right. So how do you get information? Like, you want to do a demo for a customer or
Hmm.
for your partner, whatever. How do you get the information of what the customer needs if you have someone in the middle?
Okay, yeah. So it's hard, as you said. So when you have the partner in the middle, sometimes information is not the most accurate possible, or the partner has a different idea or a different perspective of the customer, and probably they are also thinking that they know the customer, they know what they want, and they are trying to push something onto him, and sometimes the information that gets to me, it's not the most accurate. I have a lot of situations on that I'm presenting something and I've prepared for something on a demo, and the customer, when they see the first 5-10 minutes, they just say that's not it.
Yeah.
You're completely off, right? And working with a partner in the middle has those difficulties, because you're not talking directly with the customer. You cannot do qualification, and you cannot map then those problems or those pains that the customer has with your solution and with what you're demoing. And I would say that some of these things come with time, or with the experience, in terms of how you approach this and how you ask things to partners, and the way that partners give you information. And you know that also they are sometimes they are not that eager to share all the information with you. So you have to do even more questions, and sometimes I'm very I'm a pain in the ass. I hope I can say that on the podcast.
I'll beep it out. It's okay.
Okay, so I'm a pain in the ass with the partners, because I want to understand as close as I can to the truth or to the pains of the partners from a second person. So I ask even more questions. I try to drill more in terms of what they need, what's the main purpose of this presentation, why am I there, and why does the customer want that. And if you drill down enough, you minimize those times that the customer just says, you're completely off. You're not demoing what I want, or you're not presenting what I want. I just want a very simple thing. But again, from time to time, you get some of these strange things happening, and I would say that it's normal.
So do you do like all that? Like, generally speaking, the way I would imagine it would happen, the partners actually do a discovery and qualification,
They
get
should, yeah.
get you information about what the customer is looking for. Do you
Mhm.
then go do a rediscovery with the customer? So
No, it depends. From time to time, if the partner is open to that, and if we push enough, or for example, if I feel that I don't have enough information, I can say, okay, I will only go into this demo if I'm in front of the customer somehow, and I can do a first qualification call with him, like a 20-minute qualification call or 30-minute qualification call. Uh, Usually what happens is the partner does this qualification. They evaluate what the customer wants, and they feed that information onto me. I will try to understand, try to ask some questions also, to understand if we are on the right target, and if we are, okay, we will keep doing it. If not, if I see that there's something missing, I'm not understanding the main purpose, or the people in the call are completely off to the people that we usually pitch, or we usually present our solution, and then I will continue to drill down, and if not, I will ask, okay, I need to speak with the customer first, or I won't help you. you or the customer if I don't speak with him first.
So all the questions you're asking you're asking for you're asking the partner, not the
Yeah,
customer,
the
until
partner.
the end.
Yeah. And during the call or during the demo, you can ask the customer, right? But at that time, it's already a little bit too late. Uh, One thing that you can do, and sometimes the way that I prepare the demos is, and as any sales engineer, you need to prepare for the worst, right? And you need to have your demo created in a way that even if you have a story and you're telling a story, and usually I do a lot of storytelling in the demos instead of just a feature function demo. Um, if you have that story, and during the presentation, and again, this is not the best practice, this is the worst practice ever. If during the demo or during the presentation, if you're asking some questions to the customer, and the customer is sending you completely the other way, the opposite way, in some ways, and the way that the demo is constructed, you can present that even inside of the story, and you can explain to the customer, okay, you can do this, or the value that you will have, and always focus on the value that you will have is A, B, C, or D, and show with the story. The good thing is that if you know who the customer is in terms of the audience, are they technical, or are they more business oriented, or is it a mix? You can also tailor the demo towards that, and you can, for example, if it's a more technical demo, you can show code. In my case, in the case of my platform, you can show code, and you can go deeper. If you are more on the business side, or you have more business customers, then you go more on, okay, the story goes that you do this, and someone similar to you or with a role similar to yours will do this and that, and that's the value that you can bring. Do you relate with that? Do you have that problem? And you always try to bring that up into the conversation, so the customer, on those bad occasions that is completely off, doesn't feel, okay, this guy is here talking with me for an hour and I've wasted 1 hour of my time, and that's not what we want, of course.
Okay, I want to dig into storytelling in a bit, but I want to ask you this question first. So you mentioned that you might show up to a meeting, to a demo, and
Mm-hmm.
the customer will tell you you're way off base. We're not even concerned about
Mm-hmm.
this. How do you deal with that at that point?
Okay, so the first you need to minimize your losses, right? You need to at that stage understand what they want. Okay, and again, this is the worst practice ever. But when you have this middleman with the partners in the middle, these situations happen. Okay, you don't have uh, the right responses, or the partner is just telling you what you want to hear, and you prepare for something that's completely off. So you go into the demo, you see that the customer has a completely different idea. Usually what I do is I will start asking, okay, what were you expecting? In the beginning, of course, you set the agenda, or instead of the agenda, I use the value that you will gain today is this, and this. Okay, and usually I put a timeline, and I will explain, okay, on the first 10 minutes, I will show your situation or the problem that you have, or our understanding of the problem. Then I will map with our solution and the storytelling, and then some conclusions or takeaways that you will have in the end. And during this time, I'm always asking questions. Is this aligned with what you want? And I know that I will have, or I might have those, no, it's completely misaligned, right? But if you ask that, if you challenge the question at that time, you still have time then to move, or then to shift if it's needed. So I'm asking these questions to the customer. Is telling me, oh, you're completely off. I don't want to see this. I want to see, for example, instead. And this situation happened to me like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. So the partner told me that they wanted to see our form building application. Okay, and I had everything demoed or prepared for demoing that. And when we go into the demo, they say that it was a marketing department, and they say, no, we want to see surveys, not forms. So we want to see simple surveys that we send with 3 or 4 questions that we send to our partners. And during that time, I started by asking, okay, so tell me what are you expecting from today's presentation? What are your expectations? And they were telling me, yeah, we have this business problem. We do this, we do that. If it's aligned with what the partner told me, good. I can continue with the demo and I can present the demo. If not, what I will say is, okay, so drill a little bit more, and why do you want that? And what is the reason for wanting that? And what are the main value that you will gain? And for example, I can also ask, if currently, how are you doing that, and what is the value in terms of, if you keep things as they are, what is the pain, or what will be the outcome of that? And in this case, they told me, yeah, we're losing partners, their own partners.
Okay.
So if we don't do a survey each 3 months or 6 months, I don't remember, we are losing partners because we cannot understand if they are happy or not with us. Okay, so from there, the discussion evolved into, okay, so what I want to present, and you need to be flexible in terms of, you have something ready, but you need to present something completely different, right, in the middle of the call. And one of the things that our platform also does is you can build partner portals with it. And I had already prepared, because the demo that I have has a lot of scenarios, and you can tell a lot of stories, right? So one of the stories is a partner portal story, right? So from doing just those small questions in the beginning, understanding exactly the pain of the customer, I was able to shift to a partner portal story. Then I explained the partner portal. I went into a different URL for the demo. I had a different flow for that demo, and I explained the business value of having a partner portal for that situation. Not only surveys, because it's just a small part of that, but at a wider project, you can see a partner portal with surveys as one of the portions, one of the projects there. And they were really happy with that approach. At the end, they were telling me, yeah, we were thinking of just surveys because it was the quick win that we had. But by showing us this bigger perspective, we will embark into a bigger project, and we will try to get funding. So all the things that they needed. And it's something that we are starting in January to implement, or the partner is starting to implement in this customer. Okay,
Nice.
so in the end, we were able to do a turn, or 180 degrees turn. It's not always easy, and depends on the demo and the stories that you have. But yeah, it's something that you always need to be prepared. And I would say that being a sales engineer, you need to be very flexible, and you need to adapt to all the curveballs and all the strange, weird things that everyone throws at you in a presentation. So you need to wiggle, and you need to shift as the meeting is flowing.
So, based on what you just said, there's three things that I noticed. One, before the start of the meeting, you did a quick requalification, right?
Mm-hmm.
Made sure that you're on the right track, and when you figure out you're not on the right track, you did like a small discovery and
Yes.
got the information.
Yes.
Second thing is that you know your products. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about the technical aspect of being a sales engineer. Like, if you want to be that person who can switch, who can be flexible, you have to know
Yeah.
your product. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're going to say, I'm going to have to come back later, which means you just pushed the sales cycle a week, 2 weeks, a month, depending on when the customer is available, and you might have lost it. And the third thing that you just did in this aspect is you didn't just stick to what they asked for. You weren't a car salesman where they said I want a Honda and you just gave them a Honda. You were a consultant where they said I want a survey. You asked why. Oh, you have issues with the partners. We have a solution for that, not just a product. Here you go. So, wow, that's a good way to turn around a bad discovery.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I was lucky, or I was able to turn it around. But sometimes you aren't able to do it, right? Because the customer is so focused on the solution, and you try to show him other things. And even if you know the products really well, or even if you try to drill or try to ask the questions, do the discovery, sometimes the customer doesn't want, and he just say no, I just want the survey, or I just want to build a portal. No, don't sell me, don't oversell me, or don't change the topic. So it's normal.
yeah, but luck favors the people who are prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't know anything about the service, about the portal and any of that, you wouldn't have sold anything, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
gave yourself a chance.
Yeah, and again, like you said, Rams, and you're totally correct. You need to first know the products really well. If possible, do yourself your own demos in terms of building the demo environment. I've worked in other companies where there was a demo team preparing the demos, preparing the stories, coding, just developing everything, and just handing it over to the sales engineers. If possible, get your hands dirty and build the demo, build your own cases, and build and be comfortable with the demo, and doing these shifts in terms of if in the middle of a demo the customer asks you a completely different thing. First, you need to be coherent. You cannot jump from place to place. In the end, it will be a huge mess, right? But if a customer asks you, oh, by the way, I'm also looking for mobile portals, or I'm looking for chatbots or something like that, you need to have, either you need to have the tools ready to show, or show something, an example, or then you have on your demo, glad you asked, just show something and see that it's really easy to do that with your technology. And by doing that, first you're gaining the credibility with your customer, and you're being more and more the trusted advisor that all the sales engineers want to be, right? And you're gaining the trust also of your partner, in my case, because they're there and they see, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, and then you are giving value to the customer, because your solution in the end will help them and will help mitigate a pain that they have. Okay.
I do want to give one warning here. Like, if it's easy to do, sure, but if like it takes hour to configure something, don't go down a rabbit hole, because that will not look good for you.
Yeah, and I heard in one of the previous podcasts that you need to have the wow effect. So usually what I do is, in the story, I tell a little bit of the story, show the platform, or show the technology behind it, and then I have that wow. Oh, okay, I finish at that point. If you go too deep into the explanation or the code or the configuration, like you're saying, you're losing it. I know that for some of us, it's our comfort zone,
Yep.
right? It's showing the code or showing the nitty gritty stuff, technical stuff, but you lose most of the audience by doing that.
I agree with you 100%. Now, could you give me an example of a story?
Okay, so I'll give you an example that we have. We one of our latest products is business to business commerce, okay, commerce platform, and we built a story basically on the manufacturing vertical, that is of a agricultural company that has a portal already, and they want to build a storefront. Okay, they want to connect with their dealers because they're doing B2B, so they're not selling directly to their customers. They have someone in the middle. So the story goes that you have one company, that's you, you're the main manufacturer. Then you have those middle men, the dealers, and you have the customer. So usually what I do is, okay, as as the admin of the website, I'm able to do this, this, and this. I can see the results from all my dealers. I can check past orders, or if there's any order that's pending. And I'll show it more from the business perspective. If I have technical people there, I will show the technical, some technical aspects of that. Then I will jump into the dealer. Okay, so I'm John or Brenda or whatever. I'm one of the dealers. And by the way, one of the first things that I do is I show personas, different personas for the different scenarios or the different parts of the story. So as any story, you have the actors, right, or the personas that are there. So I say, okay, you have Chris, you have Brenda, and you have Jeremiah, for example, as the end customer. And then as Chris, I will do this, this, and that. As Brenda, I will see the portal and I will show the portal. I will customize some of the things, so this can be customized for any customer or any field that you want. I'm able to ask this, raise a ticket, do an order, add things to my credit, to my shopping cart, whatever. Oh, but I have an issue. So there's not that many options on a specific product. So I just call the main manufacturer to see if that's available. I'll go into again to the first persona, and I show how easy it is to build options on different products. And I'll show basically interactions that these personas will have, similar to the interactions that the customer will have with their own businesses or dealers or whatever. Okay, so usually what I try to do is, when I don't go into a demo, I try to understand the business of this customer. I try to understand if it's selling directly or if it's a B2B to C industry. I try to understand more the structure of the business, and from that I can tailor the story to say, okay, it's just one manufacturer selling directly to the business, if to the customer, for example, if that's the scenario, or it's a B2B to C, or if there's different dealers that you need to cope, or there's geographic dispersity between all the different dealers. So you try to mimic the story that the customer will have, or the different personas, the different areas or departments into that story. And then you just tell a story of things that happen on the day-to-day basis. You need to submit an order, you need to approve an order, there's an approval process, there's a problem, there's a recall, for example, on one of the products. You also try to identify the main or the areas where it's more painful to do business with this customer, and you try to present that into your demo by telling that story.
So you're actually telling a story. It's not just a term you're actually saying. You're saying, hey, we're in this situation, this is what's happening, and okay. So if I can actually, I'm trying to process this, make this, so in my head I can understand this. So what you're doing is putting yourself in their shoes and like anticipating the problems they're going to have. And then you're creating characters like based on who could be in that meeting. And you're anticipating their questions to create scenarios, like, because in every story you have like there's the hero and then there's a problem that they're going to face and then they're going to slay that problem. So you're going to beat that, you're going to beat that problem, like all right, and you're like, okay, in this situation this is the problem that you're having and this is how you're going to beat it. So you're going to show, like, empower them that way. So how can you tell, how can you anticipate what the questions they're going to ask? And how do you know, like, do you get all that information from a discovery call that you didn't even actually attend? Or do you like from based on experience with other customers?
In this case, it needs to be a mix. So it needs to be that discovery call that you do with the partner, right? That I was telling you, and also some knowledge of the industry and of that specific customer, right? So you always know the name of the customer. You always know how many people are there. You always know the profiles of everyone there. Even if you haven't spoke with anyone in that final customer, right? So from there, you know, okay, they're a manufacturer, they do B2B. Even if even if they build automotive parts, and you're presenting a story about agriculture, tractors, or something like that, if it's completely off, it's a manufacturer, and the same problems that this manufacturer has from an agricultural point of view in terms of selling seeds to tractors, in selling whatever, it's similar to the ones that these guys also face. So you just try to, like you said, put yourself into their shoes, try to understand their problems, even if sometimes you're completely blind, like I told you. So you're going there with the best that you can in terms of, this is the scenario, this is the story, and also create the story in a way that it can be adapted. Like I was mentioning before on the discovery call, right in front of the customer. So the demo itself, if you can create the demo or create that story that has different storylines, and okay, if the customer goes through this storyline, that's really good, you can follow that path. But if you see that and if you ask a question and he's not interested, or he wants to see some other stuff or some other interaction between other two characters, you just very easily just switch and go to those other characters. These things, especially this storytelling demo, and depending on the complexity of the solution, can take a long time to prepare because you need to have all these different branches. You need to, like you said, understand really well the product, and you need to adapt to everything that is happening. And yeah, and that's, I would say, be prepared for the worst, and have your demo in a way that you can very easily adapt and change according with the needs of the customer. If you cannot just follow your story line and just go through the demo as you had prepared.
Which generally never happens. There's always
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's true.
And so,
Yeah.
how do you practice this? Like in front of a mirror or something? Like how do you prepare?
I should, I should, but no. Again, I'm not the best practice at all at that stage. So ever since I started as a sales engineer, like I said, 18 years ago, in the beginning, I practice, and if it's a very, very, very important, critical demo, like a huge deal is balancing on just that demo, right? Or it's the final demo of a proof of concept or a proof of value, you need to be perfect in delivering that demo, right? But in that case, you already have a lot of knowledge, a lot of baggage from that experience, so it's easier to do. And in that case, in those cases, I train not in front of a mirror, but I just stand up and do the demo, do the presentation, as I should be doing in front of the customer. And in that case, I train both the body language that I want to convey, and also all those little things in terms of the demo of, okay, am I switching the screens correctly? Am I showing the right tab? Or am I showing the right thing to the right audience? How can I maximize the screen? How can I zoom? All those little details that sometimes you take it for granted, right, in a demo. But I always do that and test that to an exhaustion sometimes. But in most of the cases, I'm honest, I don't train at all. I just put the demo together, check if everything is working, run through that on my head or in front of the laptop, and I just show myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's because you've been doing it for 18 years
Yeah,
versus
but you know, it's and I guess we in the end we will go to the
the dark
more
side.
yeah more into the also into some knowledge sharing and something that I can share with everyone. One thing that I would say is always be uncomfortable with everything in terms of the way that you are presenting, the way that you have prepared. Always think that you haven't prepared enough. Uh, Always think that you don't know enough, that you don't know your products enough. Always be in your uncomfortable zone. I know that this is strange, but this will push you, because if you're uncomfortable with the way that, at least most of us, if we are uncomfortable with the way that we are and that the way that we are showing the demo or presenting something, uh, we will push harder to attain that level, right? And then if we attain that level, we will say, okay, it's not enough. I need to improve my English. I need to improve my body language. I need to improve my demo, whatever. And you push it further and further and further. And that, I would say, that's the best thing that you can have, is just expand.
And I can really add to that. So that was perfect. We like this now is the time to talk about your experience in going into the dark side. So you've been in SE for 18 years, but you had a period of
Yeah.
time in that 18 years where you did something questionable. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
can you tell the people what you did?
We have most sales engineers, right, on the call. So
We do have
it's
some
a profession.
salespeople, so be careful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I don't know if I have my own sales engineers or sorry, my own sales or my own partners listening, so I need to be careful.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 3 years ago, I decided to I want to try an account executive role. I want to try the sales or the dark side, right? Like you said. Um, I guess it's a natural process for most of the sales engineers. And I was working as a sales engineer at the time for 14, 15 years. So it's normal if you are always working with an account.
All right, guys. We had some a brief technical issue. We're back, and Hui was talking about being an account manager. So back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ramsey. I guess it was all the sales guys that pulled the cord, right?
Yes, they didn't like us talking stuff about them.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So 3, 4 years ago, I thought, okay, I've my career in terms of a sales engineer. I had 15 years, 14 years as a sales engineer. Uh, I think it's the right time. I thought at the time it was the right time to move into a more account executive role, a pure sales role. And at the time, also incentivized a little bit by one of the managers that I had at the time. And I was taking also at the time, I was taking an MBA. And all of that together and the knowledge that I was gaining from the MBA and the exposure also that this manager was giving me also more in terms of managing some of the accounts, I thought, okay, so this should be the right time to jump into an account executive position. During that period, also, I got offered a pure account executive position here in Dublin. So at the time, I was in Portugal. I was working in Portugal. I'm native Portuguese, and I received an offer for a company here in Dublin for an account executive. And after the normal process and some discussions, because this involved family moving and all, I decided to take the opportunity and come here, change our life, the family life, and go into sales, more pure sales. Um, I was there in that company for almost a year, and the experience was really good in terms of showing me that that was not what I wanted. Okay, so you always have to take positives from all the experiences that you have, even the not so good ones or the bad ones. It was really good in terms of expanding some areas of myself that I was not very familiar, or that were not as developed as others. And I was doing from cold calling, I was doing all the meetings, I was doing qualification meetings, I was progressing the entire sales cycle on my own. So at the time, we didn't have any pre-sales for that territory. So, and because I had some knowledge, and I had been a sales engineer before, so I was doing everything. And the thing is, it always comes down to what you really like, and where do you take fun out of work, right? In my case, I've been a nerd since I got my first Spectrum, right? A lot of years ago, and technology is basically what drives me, and what pushes me, and to learn new stuff, to just roam through the internet and trying to get more information about some new thing coming out. And what I felt at the time was that I was missing that. So the platform that I had at the time was not very technical. So I could do the demos, I could do the presentations, I could do the other parts, and in terms of personal development, it was really good for the cold calling and all those things that are hard, especially for us sales engineer. And that's really good. It was really positive, but I was missing the technology. I was missing talking with the customers from a pure technical point of view, or having the storytelling. And when you're an account executive, you always have, even if you're trying to explain your platform, you're trying to understand the pains and the business problems, but you always have a rope around your neck with the number that you need to do, right? You always have your quota. You always have another purpose that motivates you, right? And even if we sales engineers have also a percentage or a bonus or something related with the sale itself, in some cases, or in most of the cases, we are seen as more unbiased in terms of the sales process, because we are there for the technology. We are explaining how the technology can help solve a specific pain. And in my case, one of the best things that I can have is a customer coming to me and asking me a question, technology related, but completely away from my platform or my technology. They're asking me for advice in something completely different from my area of expertise, right? And that's really good, because somehow they see myself as someone that they can trust, and that can have a benefit later on. But also they are asking my opinion for something as dumb as a mobile phone, or some technology that they have, right? And it's really good for me to, when we get to a customer to that level, it's really important, and it's something that you have built that relationship, you are a trusted advisor, and later on, when you are presenting your technology, you are listened to a completely different set of eyes and ears. Sorry.
Did the customer treat you any differently when you were an account manager?
Yes, it's funny to see that. When you're a sales engineer, you're supposed to be the expert, right? Even if you just know how to spell the technology, right? You're supposed to be the expert, and they perceive you as the expert. So they usually put you in not a pedestal, but they put you at a level that, okay, this guy is the expert in that technology. So it needs respect. I need to speak with him at a specific level. As a sales guy or a pure sales, customers know that you have that rope around your neck, right? That you know that you're ending the quarter, that you have a number to achieve, and that you're pushing the technology or the platform or the product that you have, right? So not that they disrespect you, but they treat you. And I felt that when I was an account executive, I felt that people were treating me different than, for example, when I was presented as, okay, this is the sales engineer, or this is the person that will demo, and everyone thinks, okay, this is the expert. We need to treat them well. Or again, against that is this is the sales guy, so he's just trying to push us something. So we need to hear to this other guy that is the middle ground between what we need and what the other guy wants to sell.
And just to clarify, for account managers, a lot of them have base and have commission, and the base is fairly high, and the upside of making their commission is also very high. Is that the same experience that you've had?
Yeah, in that case, I had a 50-50 split. So even if the base salary was high, I would say you always have another 50 that you could put on top, right?
Yes.
And another thing that I would say, not only the money related or the revenue that you could take from that, it's more the pressure that the company itself does onto you in terms of, okay, you need to achieve this goal by the end of this month or by the end of this quarter. See, all the others are achieving, or even if they are not, all the team needs to achieve, or this is important for the company. So the pressure is huge for the account executive. And again, to all the account executives on the call or on the podcast, guys do an awesome job of managing the entire sales cycle. I take my hat on to you because I've been there and I know how hard it is. But especially me, I was more motivated by the technical side, not by the numbers, the money, or even achieving the quota, recognition, all those things.
So I just want to clarify something. Even like, let's say you're an SE, you might be getting paid like on an 80-20 split, for example, and your base is 80 and your split is 20, so you make a 20K. If you're an account manager, it's very likely that your base is still 80 and you have an 80K on top of that. But it still feels like you're not doing enough work. Like you're working around the clock to make that extra 80 because it's there, and the company's pressuring you into doing that.
Yeah, it's money on the table.
It's
your money.
It's an interesting feeling, like, because as an SE you're content. Okay, like there's only 20K, but as an account manager, it's like, oh, there's another salary right there. So,
yeah, and again, Ramsey, each person has his or her motivation from whatever, right? In my case, is technology in terms of work. Some people is the money that they can take. Others is being in front of customers and selling everything that they have. So everyone has their own motivations for doing this and for making work fun, or as fun as it can be. So
mine has always been just helping people. It's not about the, like, yeah, sure, the technology is a way for me to help people, and I like the feeling of being trusted by the customer versus shunned by the customer.
Yeah.
Is there anything you liked about being an account manager? If you have to think about it that long, maybe not.
No, there were a few things. Yeah. So one part that in the end I really enjoyed, and in the beginning I struggled a lot, was the cold calling part. In the end, I end up really loving it, and I think it opened a lot of doors and a lot of things, even for myself. I really like that part, and I like being that first person that tries to get the right person in a customer, tries to get a meeting, then asks the right questions and gets that qualification. And by doing that qualification, and I felt that I owned the customer. I owned the process, right? I owned the sales cycle, and that's really good. That feeling that okay, you're owning that, right? You're owning the customer problem. It's your problem. You need to help him somehow. What I feel also, in contrary with us sales engineers, probably more with me, because I have this middleman, I have this partner in the middle, is that I'm always the second or the third to know, right?
Yep.
And the message is shifted and changed during that process, and I'm not in control of the process. Okay, I sometimes I feel, and all through our conversation, you saw that you need to be flexible. Sometimes you go into a call or to a demo and it's completely the opposite. So I don't feel control. Not that I'm a control freak, but I like to be in control of things. And when I was an account executive, I felt that. I felt that I was in control of the sales cycle. I was controlling every stage, even negotiation and then closure. As a sales engineer, I don't feel that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just realized that we've been talking for an hour and we didn't go through the not so fire round. Do you still have time for the not so fire round?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm good.
the first question I usually ask is for gadgets, but I've been told that that question is boring. So I'm going to change it a little bit.
Okay.
Is there any gadget that you use that will makes your life easier as an SE?
I would say a notebook and a pen, but I know that was exactly your no. Gadgets. I guess everything that I have as a gadget is on my phone. Every app, even some smaller apps that I have, like apps to control the time of a demo or to share the screen of the mobile phone with my laptop so I can show everyone. Those I would say it's my phone. Also, it's a good gadget to have, especially when you travel a lot, so you can watch some Netflix or Spotify or something like that. Is always a lifesaver.
Yeah.
But again, I would say for me, my most used gadget in a meeting is the notebook and a pen. It's the best way, really.
Okay. Hey,
Now you need to adapt,
yeah,
Ramsey.
no, I just thought about it on the spot, and that was a bad question. But okay.
Cool.
Is there a book or resource that every SE should read?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as a book, one sales book that I really enjoyed reading was Challenger Sale. I can give you the author, and I can give you more details on that. It's really good because I would say that it's the major change that happened into the sales process after the solution sale, right? Because with a challenger sale, you're always questioning why does the customer has that, and why are their systems like that? Why do they use things like that? You're always challenging and always questioning that, always in a polite way, of course. Um, you're not calling them dumb or why do you have that? That doesn't make any sense. You're always trying to challenge the status quo of the customer, and by doing so, you unravel a lot of things that they have in terms of the organization, in terms of the way that they grew, and from there you can also map things to your demo, to your presentation, to your technology. And it's a really good book, a very practical one. In terms of a more sales oriented books, one thing I love reading, and it's really good for your storytelling, right? And I read everything from sci-fi, fantasy to other types of biographies to historical books, anything. So I would say, if you can listen, right? Audiobooks are amazing. Um, for that, especially if you travel a lot, or for example, I run. And during my runs here in Dublin, I always carry an audiobook, and I'm always listening to something. And it's really good. You're learning something, and you're learning also how they are telling the story, and you can improve that on your own demos. So it's really good.
So, are you running for fun, or is somebody chasing you?
No, running for fun.
Okay,
Just for
that
fun.
doesn't make sense to me, but okay, I'll leave it at that. Do you have any tips or tricks for time management?
Okay, time management. So basically, I live by my calendar. Okay, so everything is in my calendar, and I use colors. So I'm a more visual guy. I use colors in terms of my calendar, and for different types of things, I use different colors. So if it's, for example, a personal thing, I use one color. If it's an important meeting, I use a red color. If it's the preparation of that meeting or the demo, I use a different color, and I always schedule those things. So any AE or any one of my partners that goes into my calendar, if it's booked, either they ask me, is this book really booked? Can I do something with this? Or when are you available for preparing or for doing something? And sometimes my calendar looks looks like a rainbow, right? But it's my way from this coloring to understand what's happening. Another thing that I also do, and I picked this up from my AE experience, also was I in the beginning of the week, I know more or less what's happening that week. Always there's always new things coming up, but the roughly you know what's happening that week. So one thing that I do is I set up my objectives for that week. For example, I need to train for this webinar. I need to do this presentation. I need to do this, and this. And I will take 4 hours to learn a new technology, for example. Okay, and those are my objectives for that week. Monday, each morning, or at from 9 to 10, I will do that. And on Friday, what I'll do is, okay, let me check what happened this week, all the new stuff, all the curveballs that happen, all the things that pop up, and based on my objectives, what were the things that I accomplished. And those can go forward to the following week, but I always try to understand what happened. Why didn't I do this training, or why didn't I learn this new technology, for example? Oh, I didn't have time. Okay, so I need to either schedule differently, or I need to be more tough with my schedule, or basically I try to focus on those objectives, always knowing that those objectives will be tying with my company, the business, and the job that I'm doing.
So I do have a question about learning new technologies, but that might take a long time. I'm gonna ask you. Maybe we can discuss this offline at some point. How do you choose what you're going to learn next?
Okay, I can answer fast.
Okay.
Usually, it's based on the demands of the partners. So it's good in a way to work with the partners because they are exposed to these new technologies, to these new trends, right? And they ask me the most strange things that they want to connect with our platform. And I say, okay, first let me try to understand what that is. And from there, I will try to understand the connection and then the business value of that connection.
But what if you have multiple partners asking you for multiple things? How do you pick which one's the most the most important?
In that case, I need to prioritize somehow. And what I'll try to do is check the different technologies. And very easily nowadays, you can check the different technologies, understand roughly what that means. And from there, you'll say, okay, if I want to go deep into this technology, it will take me one day of just reading and watching videos, whatever. If I want to learn a new programming language, oh, this will take me longer, right? So I will need to do this in a different time. But usually it's more on prioritization, and okay, it just wants to see one little thing of that technology, or just a full integration with our stack. And basically you need to prioritize all that.
Okay. So from a calendar perspective, have you heard of a website called X.ai?
No.
It's
No.
basically, I'm not affiliated or anything. I just found it and
Hmm.
it might be really cool. It's a virtual assistant,
Okay.
like an AI assistant, where you send an email to that assistant. Like you send an email to your whoever you want to meet with, and you CC
Hmm.
your assistant and tell her schedule a time like some point next week to do this, and it will start emailing the people you want to meet with. You don't get any emails. It will just do all that work. It will tell them, hey, he's available this time, this time, this time. They respond
Okay.
saying, I'm available. I'm not available here. I'm available there, and it will manage all that for you, and it will send an invite after. So
Okay. What's the name?
X.ai.
Okay.
The thing that I'm concerned
Have to
about
check.
if I start using it with my customers is what they're gonna think about having a third party virtual assistant
Yeah.
getting all that information. So that is a question for HR, I guess. All right,
Yeah.
last
And
question.
legal.
And legal, yeah. What advice would you give a sales engineer, or what's the
Hmm.
best advice that you've ever received as a sales engineer?
Okay. Yeah. So I've already mentioned that a little bit early. Uh, Always be uncomfortable. Always be outside of your comfort zone. So and I'll try. I try to do this not only in my work, but also in my personal life. In the running, not that I'm running from anyone, but
Yeah,
I always try to push myself uh, in all these areas in terms of okay, if everyone can improve, everyone can get better at any type of job that he or she is doing, and by being uncomfortable and by pushing your boundaries slightly outwards, right? You're being uncomfortable because it's a new situation that after 1 week or two it will be your comfort zone because you'll be able to tackle that situation, and then you push the boundaries again, and if you're expanding and expanding that you'll be much more adaptable to change. So anything that changes, you'll be very easy to adapt. You can work in multiple roles or multiple positions. You can do you gain a lot of visibility inside because you're doing a lot of things, a lot of other things inside of your company. So it's really good. You gain visibility. There's also one of the main issues I would say of being a sales engineer. I don't know if you feel that, Ramsey, or not, but sometimes I feel that you're not on the spotlight. You're not the main actor, right, on the sales cycle. The AE is the main actor, right, and he gets most of the credits. He gets he got the sale. He's a great guy, but most of the time the ones that did the entire sales process and just drove from one end to the other were the sales engineers, and they're in the shadow. Most of us are also some are introverts, right? So we don't want to be also on the spotlight. Uh, but by expanding these boundaries that we have, we will start doing other things for marketing, for HR, for your own office, your local office, and you start doing other things that probably you thought that you couldn't do, because we are the ones that impose the barriers to ourselves.
yeah,
And if we break those barriers and if we expand, everyone will gain, mostly us, right?
yeah.
So
So I do feel the way you were mentioning about not being in the spotlight,
yeah.
but also on the other hand, if we lose a deal, like short of us bombing the demo or doing really badly, it's also
Hmm.
the account manager who gets the blame.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like they can get the spotlight if I'm there.
yeah.
Although
It's the trade-off.
yeah,
Yeah.
although I feel some people recognize what you're doing, and it
Hmm.
depends on your account manager too if he gives you credit or not. A lot of account
Yeah,
managers keep the credit, a lot more share the credit. So it
yeah, yeah.
depends you
That's
on your luck.
and again, if you're part of the team, you will share the credit. If
Yeah,
you're a sales engineer and an account executive, yeah,
yeah,
basically the sales executive would want the credit all for himself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, like That was awesome. This is the longest podcast I've had. Short of there's one that I
I
actually
talk
split.
too much. Sorry.
No. I just had so many questions. But this has been great, and I'll do a short intro and short outro, and that will solve the problem. So that's great.
Okay.
I appreciate your time, Rui.
Okay.
Did I say it right
Ramsey.
again? Rui.
It was good. It was
Yeah.
good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks. All right. I'll catch you later then. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Ramsey. Thank you, everyone.
And we're done. I feel like calling action. But this brings us to the end of the interview. I know it was a longer one, but I just couldn't stop asking Rui questions. It was just so much fun to talk to him. He has a lot of information and he was willing to share it. He also seemed very happy sharing it. I could see him across on the webcam. He seemed like he was having fun with this conversation. I'd love to bring him on at some point. I'll tell you what, if you want me to bring him on for a webinar, go on to the comments section and just say, bring Rui on for the webinar. And that will be social proof, and I will send that to Rui, so that we can bring him on. Speaking of webinars, Saturday, webinar about presentation and framing. Register at wethesalesengineers.com/webinar. Show notes for everything we talked about today, as well as the one book he mentioned, the Challenger Sales, can be found at wethesalesengineers.com/show35. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'd love to know if you learned anything, or if there's anything you want to try out on the next opportunity. I'm going to try the storytelling technique in my presentation. I know it will suck the first few times, but hopefully I'll get better. Because, it seems like an interesting way of doing it. So I'm going to try that out. That's all I have today for you guys. I appreciate you being here. Thank you guys. And thank you for all the nice messages I'm getting from folks. Like, I'm getting messages from new folks who are not sales engineers, and from engineers who have been doing this for a long time. So I appreciate that. It helps me keep going. So thank you for that. With that, this is Ramsey signing off.